Greetings and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. In this third installment on our series of the origins of America, I'd like to ask you a provocative question. Does the throne of David exist today here on earth? And if so, where is it? Now you will recall that the angel prophesied to Mary that God the Father would give Jesus Christ the throne of his father David. And the reference was to his return, when he would return to this earth. So since God the Father is going to give Jesus, when he returns, the throne of David, it has to exist somewhere here on this earth today. But where is it? There's another remarkable prophecy and a promise which God gave to King David, ancient King David of Judah. And he told King David that because David was so obedient to him, there will never ever be a descendant lacking on the throne of David to rule over Israel. Now this is a remarkable prophecy, as I said, because if God is not a liar, which he is not, then he had to fulfill that prophecy. And so therefore, that throne of David has to be occupied today by a descendant of David ruling over Israel. Now, when it comes to Israel, as I explained in previous programs, that doesn't have to mean the Jews. Because the Jews are just one tribe of Israel. Israel, or Jacob, as he is also called in Old Testament times, was the father of many sons, all of whom had sons and grandsons, and they descended into other nations. And so today we have, for instance, Joseph. Now Joseph was one of the sons of Israel, and his children then were Ephraim and Manasseh, and they are somewhere today, but they are not Jews. And so the prophecy again to David was that there would never be a descendant from David lacking to rule over Israel. That could have been any tribe. Now until the time of the slavery of the house of Judah, the house of David, and David ruled over Judah. But then Nebuchadnezzar, as you will recall, occupied Judah, the house of Judah, and the last king of Judah, King Zedekiah, who was a descendant of David, was captured, and all his sons were killed. So there was no descendant, male descendant, left from the house of Judah, from David ruling over Judah. But did God then fail to fulfill his promise? No, he did not, because at the time there were still daughters alive under Judah, and of course these were daughters of Zedekiah. And then we find another interesting prophecy in the Old Testament referring to the prophet Jeremiah. And God told Jeremiah that he was predestined to root out, but also to plant. So he was to root out the throne of David over Judah, but he was to plant it over Israel, another tribe of the house of Israel. And that is exactly what historical records tell us happened. Because Jeremiah took the daughters of Zedekiah, and these daughters actually are even known by name. The name were Scotia, or Scotta, where the name of the Scots came from. And then there was also another daughter with the name of Tia. And he brought them to Ireland, and the records of Ireland are full with records about these things. And Tia then married a king who actually was also a descendant of David, but he was not of Judah, I should say, but he was not a descendant of David. And so she married that king, and they became the rulers over Ireland. But there was another prophecy which was given, this time to Ezekiel. And in this prophecy to Ezekiel, it was told that the throne would be overthrown 3 times. It would be transferred 3 times. The first time it was transferred from Judah to Ireland. The second time it was transferred from Ireland to Scotland. And the third time it was transferred from Scotland to England. And that is where the throne of David exists today. Yes, my friends, Queen Elizabeth is sitting on that throne. And pretty soon, we assume, the firstborn son of Prince Charles will be sitting on that throne. And that throne will be occupied. And when Jesus Christ, who came, of course, from the house of Judah, through his mother Mary, will enter this world, will return to this world, he will be able to sit on a throne which is occupied And he will occupy that very throne of David. Now, my friends, in having mentioned very, very briefly these records, and we have a booklet which is titled The Fall and Rise of Britain and America. And this booklet goes into those facts in much more detail. And if you want to study into this and want to find out what actually is being prophesied about the throne of David and that it exists today, please do yourself a favor and read this booklet. But as I want to say, these facts also establish something else. Because remember, the prophecy to David was that a descendant of David would always rule over Israel. Since the throne of David was planted in Ireland, the Irish people are, of course, descendants of Israel, which they are. And when it was then planted in Scotland, these people are also descendants of the ancient house of Israel, which they are. And since it is now occupied in England, the English people are also descendants of the house of Israel. And in fact, they are descendants of the son of Joseph called Ephraim. And many records prove that when the house of Israel was enslaved by the Assyrians long before the house of Judah was enslaved by the Babylonians, they ultimately then transferred from the Black Sea and where they were taken into captivity into Europe. And they migrated into Europe, and some then also migrated into the British Isles, specifically Ephraim and Manasseh, the sons of Joseph. And while Ephraim then settled in the British Isles, Manasseh ultimately would move forward and further and then enter the United States of America, a topic which I will address in future programs. And so we see, my friends, that today the throne of David is in fact in England. And it will be there and will remain there until Jesus Christ returns. And then, of course, it is going to be transferred to Jerusalem because Jesus Christ will rule from Jerusalem. That's in a very brief nutshell what the Bible and historical records reveal insofar as the house of Israel and the house of David and the throne of David is concerned. And it is remarkable that God throughout these many, many years has fulfilled the promise which he has given to David that there would never ever be a time where a descendant of David would not sit on the throne of David ruling over Israel. Thank you very much for your attention. This is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.